In this video, we're going to be going over practice set number 1 for the table question. So right here, we have an example from the Cambridge IELTS book number 8, and this is going to be reading passage number 1. So let's start off by first reading the title, Sheet Glass Manufacture, the Float Process. Alright, so now let's come down to our questions, and we can start off by first looking at the directions. In this case, we cannot write any more than 2 words. And here we have to fill in our answer by writing it out. Now let's read the title here as well, just so we know what this question set is going to be about. Here it says, early methods of producing flat glass. So we know it's going to be talking about methods, and here we can see as well in the titles up here it says method, advantages and disadvantages. So in this question set, we're going to be discussing 2 different methods, and we're going to be talking about the advantages and disadvantages for each one of these methods. So we're going to start off by first marking our keywords. So here we have something about glass remaining. That's not a great keyword, but I'll go ahead and mark it anyway. Slow is a slightly better keyword. Down here we have the word ribbon. So this way we'll be able to identify the method and then read around that area. So ribbon is a good keyword. Here we have something about producing glass sheets. I'm not sure how useful this term is going to be, glass sheets, because up here we know that it's talking about sheet glass. So the whole article is about that. So this may be a repetitive keyword. So I'm not going to mark that. Rather, I'm going to look for something related to production, something related to varying or different, non-stop process. That's a good keyword. There we go, 20%. Now that's a fantastic keyword. Anytime we have numbers, proper nouns, we love that. All right, now here we have something about the machines being expensive. And let's see, do we have anything else? Glass rubbed away. 20% of the glass rubbed away. Okay, I think that is a good start to get started with looking for our answers. So let's go ahead and look for these keywords. Keep in mind, we are looking for 2 specific methods. One of them is already mentioned, ribbon. The other one we have to find out. And then we just have to look for a discussion regarding the advantages and disadvantages associated with these methods. So which one do you think is going to be the easiest keyword to find here? 20%, right? That's the easiest one. So we can go ahead and put a check mark next to that if you'd like. You don't have to do that. But just to highlight the point that we like to do easy questions first, I'm going to put that there just to serve as a reminder for you. So let's look for this keyword 20%, and let's see if we can also find these other keywords around that area. So here we go. We're going to come up to the article and we're going to start scanning. So I'm looking for 20%. I'm looking for a number here. I see the word nonstop. I remember that there was something about nonstop in there. And I see 20% right here. 20%. So I'm pretty sure we're going to find our answer somewhere around here. Let's be extra careful with scanning this area and looking for our keywords. Here I see another keyword. Ribbon process, in fact, because it talked about the method down here, and right here is talking about the ribbon method. So I know that we're going to find our answer somewhere around there. And over here it mentions that the machines were very expensive. That is also one of our keywords. 2 of our keywords, machines and expensive. So we found that there as well. So we're going to find our answer around this area. So let's go ahead and read this sentence. We can start reading from up here. The first continuous ribbon process involved squeezing molten glass through 2 hot rollers similar to an old mangle. This allowed glass of virtually any thickness to be made non-stop. But the rollers would leave both sides of the glass marked, and these would then need to be ground and polished. This part of the process rubbed away around 20% of the glass, and the machines were very expensive. Rubbed away, I remember that was another one of our keywords, rubbed away. Mentions that down here, rubbed away. So now let's look at what the question is asking for, and let's see if we can answer these two questions here. So number 4 says that the ribbon method could produce glass sheets of varying what? Varying what? This is going to be a noun. And over here it says this allowed glass of virtually any thickness to be made non-stop. Okay, so any thickness, virtually any thickness. What is that a synonym for? Virtually any. Virtually any is synonym language for varying, that it could produce any type, any variation. Okay, so could produce glass sheets of varying thickness. Thickness is the correct answer. So thickness is the answer for number 4. And once we have answered this question, what you can do is just put a number next to that spot. So this is where we found our answer, thickness. And we can put number 4 next to this spot, just so that we can locate the other questions more easily. Because these questions go in order most of the times. Not all the time, but most of the times, 80 to 90% of the times. Well, let's come down to number 5. Number 5 says that the glass was dash. So what was the glass? We have to find out. And then down here it says 20% of glass rubbed away, machines were expensive. Now, right here, we're talking about the disadvantages. Remember that. So we are talking about disadvantages. So glass was something bad, something negative. We have to find out what that disadvantage was. So let's come back here to our discussion about the ribbon method, and let's find out what were the disadvantages. So right over here, it said that, but the rollers would leave both sides of the glass marked, and these would then need to be ground and polished. So that is a negative thing. That is a disadvantage, because in the next sentence, it says that this part of the process, it rubbed away 20% of the glass, and it basically increased their costs because the machines were very expensive. So it increased their costs. So it already talks about that machines were expensive. All right, we got that taken care of. 20% of the glass rubbed away. Okay, it already mentions that as well. But what is not mentioned here? That's what we have to find out. What disadvantage has not been mentioned? Over here it says the rollers would leave both sides of the glass marked. So here it talks about the advantage, that this allowed glass of virtually any thickness to be made non-stop. That's great, that's an advantage. However, there is a downside. But the rollers would leave both sides of the glass marked. Okay, so that is going to be our other disadvantage, which the question has not mentioned. Down here, it does not mention the fact that the glass would become marked. So that is going to be our answer for number 5, marked. And while we are at it, we may as well also come over here and put a number next to the spot where we found the answer to number 5. Great. So we have number 4 and number 5 over here. So the answers to numbers 1, 2, 3 have got to be up here. Most likely, most likely. So we already talked about the ribbon method. Now let's find out what was the other method. And since we are looking for the other method, method is also one of our keywords. Okay, now we may not find the word method exactly. We may have to look for synonyms for the word method, but that is going to be one of our keywords because I already know that down here it talks about the ribbon method. So up here, I want to find out what method is it really talking about. So I'm going to start off there. I'm going to be looking for some sort of a method, a discussion on method. So let's just start here. All right, now over here it mentions something about method. I'm not sure if that is going to be our keyword. Let's read it here. First successful method for making clear flat glass involved spinning. Okay. It mentions a little bit more about that method. Okay, so that is the only spot where it mentions method. Here it talks about method, but it's not giving us the name of the method. So I believe the answer to question number 1 is going to be spinning. Because it's telling us here that the first successful method involved spinning. So that is going to be our answer for question number 1. So let's put number 1 next to the spot where we found the answer. Let's come down here. Fill in the answer in your answer sheet. And then let's move on to number 2 and number 3. So now our job has become a lot more easier because now that we have identified the method, we know the name of the method, we're talking about the spinning method. Now all we have to do is we have to find out what were the advantages associated with spinning and what were the disadvantages. So I should actually mark that here as well because we may not find these keywords exactly as they appear over here, but we will still be able to find synonyms for these keywords. So that is probably something I should have marked at the beginning, but you get the idea. Mainly, you are looking for the keywords by identifying what class they fall into. So we are looking at the columns and then we are honing in, we are tuning in to the keywords that are in the question themselves. So let's come back up to our reading passage and let's start looking for these pros and cons. All right, here we have the spinning method. Let's read this part. I'm pretty sure our answer is going to be around here, so we can go ahead and read it. The first successful method for making clear flat glass involved spinning. This method was very effective. All right, now we have the word very effective, the phrase very effective, and that is synonym language for an advantage. That is an advantage. So this method was very effective as the glass had not touched any surfaces between being soft and becoming hard, so it stayed perfectly unblemished with a fire finish. However, the process took a long time. Now we're talking about the disadvantage. However, there was some sort of a problem. The problem was that the process took a long time and was labor intensive. So right here we have the advantage and down here we have the disadvantage. So let's come back down to our question and let's read it. Let's see what the question is asking us. The advantage was that the glass remained dash. The disadvantage was that it was slow and what? So we already know that it was slow because it uses synonym language here. It says that it took a long time. The process took a long time. That is synonym language for being slow. The other disadvantage was that it was labor intensive. Labor intensive. So that's going to be one of our answers because we are looking for 2 disadvantages. This one is the first disadvantage and labor intensive is the second disadvantage. We are also looking for an advantage. Over here it said that we have to look for an advantage. The advantage was that the glass remained what? Well, it mentions that up here. It says the glass stayed. It stayed a certain way. The glass stayed perfectly unblemished. Perfectly unblemished. So that's going to be our other answer. Okay, unblemished. You can also put perfectly unblemished. That is also fine. both of those options are fine. So let's just put our answers over here. Glass remained. You can put unblemished or perfectly unblemished. Because here you can write 2 words, not more than 2 words, so it would be fine to also write perfectly here. That's completely up to you. The disadvantages were that the process was slow and it was labor intensive. So there we go. We have now answered all of our questions for this set, and that brings us to the end of this video. In the next one, I'll be taking you through a second practice set. So I'll see you there.